but also to talk about what actions we could take, you know. And one of the things about actions, I just saw this piece that they actually raised there 3 different things they would like people to do. You know, one of them is to do outreach, the other is to organize, and the other one is to call in to the DOJ, Justice Department, and also get in touch with your elected officials. Now, when I listened to the posture of that, you know, I thought about it because we had talked about actually maybe having a demonstration at Hakeem Jeffries' office, because he's the head of the Democrats. And believe me, this ain't Trump. This is Biden's Justice Department. Just like it's bombing Gaza. This is Biden's Justice Department. But I thought about Hakeem Jeffries because why? Because first he's here in Brooklyn. And secondly, he's the head of the Democratic Congressional members in that sense.
Touch one! Touch all! Touch one! Touch all! Free the Uhuru 3! Free the Uhuru 3! Free the Uhuru 3! Free the Uhuru 3! Never give up! Never give up! Never give up! Never give up!
And I'd like to say something very, very quick about what I understand is happening. I got a chance to talk to the chairman last week, Wednesday, on WBAI. And I asked him a question. I said, what is so significant about this moment in time that causes the state, you know, to want to attack us? And he said something very interesting. He said that the state wants to disrupt our memory as movement workers. It's what colonialism does. See, the slave traders, they would kill the older people because the older people would transmit the culture to the younger people to carry on struggle. In the 1950s and 60s, as you all know, how many people were murdered? How many people were killed? How many people were put...
So I just want to say this. Really quickly, we appreciate everybody's support. I want to bring up just a couple of things that also is very important about this. The Black is Back coalition, which was also Omali Yeshitela, one of the co-founders of this, and so much of it was his vision. But we created something called the Electoral Campaign School because we were fed the F up with being reamed up the butt with politics. And we recognized that with the advent of Barack Hussein Obama, that there was a whole new face that they were putting on U.S. imperialism. So the Black is Back coalition came into being. And then I remember there was the vision, the suggestion of the chairman to say, we need to have an electoral campaign school. We're like, yes. And we worked on it immediately. And we were like, the way that you inject revolutionary issues into these campaigns is you put them in the campaign. You just do it. And so we started this electoral campaign school in which we not only told people how to run for office and how to elect people, but we also told them how to get them out of office. And we had the 19-point platform, and we simply said, if they don't support this platform, don't vote for them. And it's one of the most radical revolutionary platforms around. And so we also said, I think point number 4, either point number 6, is reparations, full reparations. And that year, the very first year of the campaign school, the African Peoples Socialist Party ran people for elections in St. Petersburg, Florida. One of them is Jesse Nevel, who's now facing 10 to 15 years in prison, along with Akili and Naive. And they ran on a platform of reparations for the Black community. And I think that's really key. And Jesse Nevel, I am sure, is the first white person to ever run on a platform of reparations for the Black community. And although they did not win, their campaign was so effective that they made international news with what they were doing. They made international news. And it's not a coincidence that Jesse Nevel, the first white person that ever ran on a campaign of reparations for the Black community, is facing 10 to 15 years in prison. When has a white person who has ever been affiliated with the Klan or neo-Nazis ever been arrested and facing 10 to 15 years in prison, who had not done anything. Even when they go out and kill people, they're not facing that kind of time. What we should remember about 2022, when that happened, the attack on the chairman, which happened July 29, 2022, there were so many things that happened earlier in that year. You had the shooter in Buffalo, violent online presences. They want you to think that these are lone white men. They are not. Violent online presences, was able to publish his manifesto online, talking about he wanted to kill about 10 or as many black people as he could. And he was able to implement and do it. You had the shooter on July 4th. Again, a violent online presence. They talk about what they want to do. They are affiliated with all these other people. They have these chat rooms that they talk about it openly online. But the Department of Justice saw none of that. The Department of Justice had no plans to stop any of that. They went after Omali Yeshitela, Jesse Nevel, and Penny Hess. Penny Hess is also white. And the whole platform of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement is unity through reparations, and they proudly acknowledge that they work under the leadership of the African Peoples Socialist Party.
Brothers and sisters, this is a bad system.
Yeah.
When we were at the press conference, I went down to Florida and she organized the press conference on the first day. And she is the Secretary General of the African Peoples Socialist Party, and this is Sister Mwesi Odom, and they just got out of court, so I just wanted her to come and speak to us and give you an update. Give her a big...
Another bad, revolutionary, and I heard my comrades speak for David, that has just been, yes, I really want to salute you, comrades, and just the work being done up there. And, I couldn't go any further without just really saluting December 12th movement. Literally days after the raids, that D12 held a very powerful conference, press conference condemning the FBI raids on the Uhuru movement, and it just helped to set off this alarm, right, to the whole revolutionary struggle, that it was not just an attack on Chairman Omali Yeshitela, but attack on all of us. And we just want to really appreciate everybody, because we had such a great turnout on the ground here in Tampa, Florida. We're calling on people to still come. The trial is not, we're not looking at maybe a month-long trial. So whoever can make it down here to Tampa, Florida, we say come on by. Our lawyers, we have a bad legal team, yes, we do, who are really, who are laying it out in the court and just exposing the bogus nature of this case, which, as we all know, is tied to a much deeper struggle. But, in this period, the, question of freedom of speech is on trial.
Touch one.
Touch all. Touch all.
Get better. Touch one.
Touch all.
How you get better? Touch one.
Touch all.
There we go. There we go. Let's make some noise. Let's make some noise. Our comrades are on trial for defending black people. We have to be out here and be energized. We have to understand that the fight does not stop because they try to take our leaders out of the community. The fight will never stop because of that, because we will continuously fall under attack for trying to fight, for trying to liberate our people, for struggling for our people's liberation. Touch one.
Touch all.
Touch one.
Touch all.
We're out here outside of Hakeem Jeffries' office because, like Roger said, we have to understand this is happening under a Democratic presidency, not under a Trump presidency. So if Hakeem Jeffries wants to denounce Trump's attack on democracy, he has to denounce this attack on democracy. He must. We are demanding that he denounce it with the same energy Black people are under attack, and black politicians need to make it clear to the black people where they stand. So, we're going to hear from Jennifer Cantor from Workers' World. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep the energy high. When Cantor gets call and response, y'all. Same energy that we give you, you give us. Free them all!
Free them all!
Free the Uhuru 3!
Free the Uhuru 3!
When?
Now!
When?
Now! Now!
Straight ahead.
Drop the charges now!
Drop the charges now.
Drop the charges now!
People know that the Uhuru 3 are on trial, but may not be clear what the charges, what they're actually being charged with. So I'm going to address that very briefly so that people know what's happening. Aside from the fact that this is a political prosecution that is dressed up as a criminal proceeding, they are really being charged under a statute which is very rarely used. It's 18 U.S. Code 951, agent of a foreign government. Remember that, agent of a foreign government. What that code actually says is, just very briefly, whoever, other than a diplomatic or consular officer or attaché, acts in the United States as an agent of a foreign government without prior notification to the Attorney General shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both. So basically they're saying that Uhuru, that the defendants were acting as agents of foreign government. It says, for purposes of this section, the term agent of a foreign government means an individual who agrees to operate within the United States subject to the direction or control of a foreign government or official. So that's what they're being charged with. Now we all know, or will know, the history of the Uhuru movement is speaking out particularly on international issues. But what the government is trying to prove is that when they spoke out against, when they spoke for reparations, when they spoke out against police brutality, when they spoke out of the Russia's attack on the Ukraine, when they took a position in support of Palestine's self-determination and independence, that in particular what they're being charged with is that they acted at the behest of the Russian government. So that's what they're going to have to prove, that they acted at the behest of the Russian government. This case is important because if they can get away with this, everybody here who does any type of organizing will be subject to the same type of prosecution. People who are not even politically active, once that type of precedent is set, and if they get convicted on this and it goes to the Supreme Court, we know what the Supreme Court is going to do. So it's very, very, very important, one, to expose what they're being charged with, the bogusness of that. And for myself and some of our comrades, 40 years ago, this year, this October, we were subject to the same situation in the case of the New York 8. We were political activists, we were black revolutionaries, we stood for people's right to defend themselves, self-determination, self-defense. And because of that, they prosecuted us. When they arrested us, we were charged with being revolutionaries, terrorists, political. By the time it got to trial, we were no longer a political grouping. We were a racketeer, influence, and corrupt organization. We had now become gangsters who use politics to disguise our criminal activity. They lost then. Not only because the evidence was there, but because we mobilized the community to come out and support. In the same way, that's what we face today down in Tampa. A bogus case with even less evidence than they had against us 40 years ago, a mobilization of the community. Our responsibility is to get the word out to the community and around the country so people can understand what's happening. Hakeem Jeffries is an attorney. He should know this prosecution occurred under Biden's administration. This didn't occur under Trump's administration. It occurred under Biden's administration. The Democrats are trying to mobilize support by saying that Trump is a threat to democracy.
Well, if they don't take a position in defense of the Uhuru 3, they don't take a position to drop the charges now, then they're no different than Trump. Because this is one of the most direct and serious attacks on democracy that have occurred in the last 50 years. Free the Uhuru 3!
Free the Uhuru 3!
Drop the charges now!
Drop the charges now!
Drop the charges now!
Drop the charges now!
It's the best thing that ever happened to an African when you gain your consciousness and you're aware of your conditions and you take action to transform those conditions. We've summed up our conditions as colonialism, which means that there's a hostile alien force who dominates every aspect of our lives. And this just didn't happen in 22 or in the 1960s. This process began in the 1415 when we encountered the Portuguese who was looking for salvation for themselves, hearing about the wealth in the world, and they went out looking for it. These Europeans, this minority of people on the planet Earth who were struggling to survive.
So it's not enough for us to say their stuff is bankrupt. We gotta win. You know, we gotta win. So that's why we can't leave no stone unturned in terms of winning. One of the things we had talked about was coming out of this meeting, we would come with an action to take. And so one of the ones we thought was one that we have the reality of the head of the Democratic Party in the Congress here in Brooklyn. And we had come from the idea of having a demonstration at Hakeem Jefferies' office, whether he's there or not, around the question of free speech, which is under attack. And there are a lot of things we can get down with Hakeem Jeffries for doing against black people. But that's not so much the issue right now. Issue right now is his role should be to defend free speech. That should be his role in that regard.
All right, family, we're going to have to use that natural energy out here. If they come back on, we don't need it. Touch one!
Touch all!
Touch one!
Touch all!
Because the freedom to free speech is under attack. Touch one!
Touch all!
Touch one!
Touch all!
We must make it clear that Congressman Jefferies must stand up and say drop the charges now. Before you see, family, I need everybody here to do one piece of work when we leave today. Snap a picture, snap a video, send it to at least 3 people across the city. If you know somebody in Florida, send it to them. If you know somebody in Detroit, send it to them. Send it out, family. Because we must make it clear, drop the charges now.
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 Now I'm going to call up Kirby Joseph from Party for Socialism and Real Liberation.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Are you coming with me? Can you hear me? When I say people, you say power. People.
Power!
People.
Power.
When I say people, you say power. People.
Power! 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 Power!
Thank you for having me. Let's give a round of applause to D12. I want to make it very, very clear that this struggle is not about freedom of speech. That this is an attack on the movement. That our comrades in Uhuru represent us. We're saying touch one, touch all. We're chanting that. We're screaming that. But we also know that we never had freedom of speech. Not in this country. Not under this system. Freedom of speech wasn't meant for us. And that's why we organize. But we don't organize for freedom of speech. We organize for a new system altogether. See, the Uhuru comrades are under attack because of what
because of the work that they have done. We're talking about comrades that for the past 40 years put their minds on the line, put their spirits on the line, and put their bodies on the line for us. And not just us, but generations after us. So this is not a trial about freedom of speech. This is a trial against the movement. Period. The demand isn't just Hakeem Jeffries. He's already an enemy of the people. He showed that with the Palestine movement. He showed that with police brutality struggles. I don't care about that. This is a struggle to liberate our comrades. This is a struggle to continue to fight for our community. It has been a long struggle of censorship against the left. Look at Atlanta. They can't even raise money for their comrades. Look at the Palestine struggle. Some of you got your heads bashed in standing for Palestine. Anybody who talks about freedom is a threat to this system.
We're not falling for it. We didn't fall for it then. And so the people have to understand what's happening. They have to be aware and understand the historical context of what's always happened when it came to African people struggling for our freedom, right? They always tried to belittle us. We can go all the way back to slavery, right? The intelligence of African people was always questioned. So that's also on trial right now, you know, to be honest, right? The intelligence, our humanity and intelligence. So that's the last thing I wanted to say, man. I just want to appreciate everybody for coming out here and supporting the Uhuru 3 when they raided the offices of the Uhuru Movement, African Peoples Socialist Party. I felt like they raided, because they did, as a member of the Uhuru Movement, they raided my office, right? The freedom of the Uhuru 3, which is on trial, all of our freedom is on trial right now, right? So we have to take ownership of what's taking place right now. Again, I appreciate you all for being out here. Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Touch all. Touch all.
Touch all.
And I will also be remiss. I want to give acknowledgement to the leadership too. I'm out here because of the chairman as well. The Chairman Omali Yeshitela.
Rule 3.
Rule 3.
The White House and Attorney General Garland wants to turn back the clock to the days of Joe McCarthy and the witch hunt of the 1950s, where so-called subversives were thrown to jail and some of them were even executed for simply demanding human rights. And that's what the Uhuru 3 have been demanding for decades. Human rights. Chairman Omali Yeshitela has had a target on his back for 60 years. The apartheid authorities in Florida, who are now trying to ban black history in the schools, put him on a chain gang for opposing racism in St. Petersburg. They put him on a chain gang, and now they want to give him, now that he's in his 80s, this elder freedom fighter, basically a life sentence. And it's the Democrats doing that. Will we let them do that? No! Free the Uhuru 3. You know, it's not just the McCarthy fight. If you want to, you can search up a John Birch Society spelling. I don't suggest it. It's called Anarchy USA. Well, the only good part of it is at the end, they have all this stuff on Robin Mabel Williams. But they explained the whole freedom movement. It was all orchestrated from Moscow. And this is the same thing that the White House is doing today. Free the Uhuru 3. And thank you very much to the December 12th movement for organizing this very important press conference.
Touch one!
Touch all!
Touch one!
Touch all!
Touch one!
Touch all!
Touch one!
Touch all!
Congressman Jeffries, you must hear the people. Your voice must be loud and proud. Right. On drop the charges now. Drop the charges now. Make it clear. Drop the charges now.
Drop the charges now. now!
Charges now!
Drop the charges now!
Today, tonight, tomorrow morning, the only debate is drop the charges now!
Drop the charges now!
Drop the charges now!
Drop the charges now!
It's an attack on all of us. I have the pleasure of long-term freedom fighter, leader of the December 12th movement.
Uhuru!
Black power! Black people!
For black people!
Black people!
Black people!
Need black power!
Need black power!
From Tampa!
From Tampa to Bed-Stuy! We do or we die!
Do or we die!
We do or we die!
Very briefly, in the spirit of our former chairperson, Sister Viola Plummer, a throwdown, stomp down revolutionary. That's right, sir. Yes, sir. She always said, finish the gig. Yes, sir. We got to free the Uhuru 3 so they can finish the gig. That's right. We got work to do. Yes, sir. We got work to do. That's right. 40 years ago, 500 FBI agents from the Joint Terrorist Task Force, they had just brought it together. They made every city cop think they were a federal agent. They arrested the New York agent, Roger, myself, Viola, some other comrades. Said they would give us 200 years, but the people said, hell no!
That's right.
They said, hell no! Hell no! So we on the streets because of the people. That's right. They spent millions of dollars to put us away, but the people said, hell no. And so all I say to you, I'm glad y'all are out here today, because this is where the hell y'all supposed to be. And some of y'all seem to be susceptible to the heat. So I showed you how long they're that's right. They're outside of Africa too long. We need air conditioning now and stuff. But I just want to say, brother Omali and Sister Penny and Jesse, brother the chairman, we go back 40, 45 years when all of his hair was black. But you know what he committed to? To the day he died. He's going to fight for our freedom. That's why we want him in the streets. We don't want him in the streets to put him in a wheelchair. We want to put him in the streets to continue to organize our people. And let me tell you this too. As George Jackson said, we got to settle our differences. We got to come together. Fascism is already here. We don't want anybody else to die a needless death. So these kind of struggles, when they attack us, we get together. When they attack us, we get together. When they attack us,
we get together.
When they attack us,
we get together.
Now, what I want to do is for us to take a picture of all of us in front of the banners, so we can send that right off to the courthouse, so they can see when they're down there doing their work, we up here doing our work. Yes, sir. Because we got work to do. What do we have?
We got work to do.
What do we have?
Work to do.